Hello world, I'm Carole Leblanc, owner of Viva Vacation, and I'm joined today by Elise Davis, one of Viva's travel consultants. Hi Elise, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great, Carole, thank you.
So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of doing an organized bus tour in Europe. These types of vacation are certainly not for everyone, so hopefully our podcast will help shed some light if you are a good fit for this type of travel. So Elise, you've traveled extensively in Europe and you've also traveled different ways. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience there?
Of course. When I was younger, I was a little bit braver and did do a lot of backpacking during the summers in various European countries with either friends. And I did do one solo at the stress of my parents, at the expense of my parents' stress, but also very good experiences. So backpacking, I've also done fly and drive tours where my husband and I would, use a vacation package where you essentially arrive at the airport, get your rental car, and then it's really up to you how you do your travel, as long as you get to that hotel or bed and breakfast for that night, which was exceptional. It was a great way to see a country kind of at your own pace, but also organized in a certain way. So that was great. We've done river cruises. So we've done one recently in Europe, the Danube, and we also did one in China. That was quite a few years ago in 2014. We've also done bus tours. So I've done some with my husband and with my mother and with my whole family all together. And we've also done kind of our own thing where we rented a car on our own, planned the itinerary on our own, and kind of just went day by day. We had our stops, we had our hotels, so we knew exactly where we had to be during the night, but during the day it really was up to us. So I have done quite a bit of travel styles.
I see that. Wow, you really touched on the different types of travel. So today we're going to focus on specifically the bus tours in Europe, which you've mentioned you've done quite a bit. Perhaps let's start by talking about, I guess, the advantages or the benefits of organized bus tours.
I think the biggest advantage is if you don't have time to plan your own itinerary, looking at what some of the suppliers, what some of the tour guides, the tours that are available to you, the itineraries are planned for you. So number one, it's time saving, not only in terms of planning your itinerary, but also once you get to your destination, it's stress-free. Right. You don't have to figure out what your accommodations are, what your transportation is. They oftentimes pick you up directly from the airport. So the stress really is reduced, minimized, inexistent right from the moment you get to your destination. They pick you up.
Yeah, and you have the advantage of the expertise of the tour guides that are from the area as well. That gives you that extra comfort, I would assume.
Absolutely. So recommendations, if you haven't had time to plan or research your destination prior, when you get on land, you get to that first destination, your tour operator, your tour guide that will follow you really for the whole tour,
right,
will introduce you to things that maybe researching on your own wouldn't have come up in searches.
Right.
So it really is a personalized way. As much as you are in a small or larger group, you really do feel a personalized experience as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So what are the other advantages to that?
I think it's a great way to sample a new destination. So again, on the theme of saving time, stress-free, when you haven't been to, let's say, a certain country or a certain area in a country, and you may feel overwhelmed by the offerings that they have when it comes to tourist attractions or just main attractions, restaurants, beaches, whatever it may be, it is a great way because the itinerary is developed to go to those great places, the most, popular attractions right off the bat.
Right.
So your itinerary, it's a great way to sample a new destination, a new area, again, without doing much research on your own. You know what you want to experience, you know where you want to go.
Right.
It removes really all the stress and the headache of finding hotels. What are the best hotels? What are the best restaurants?
Right.
You just show up and it's already done for you. So that's another great advantage.
Right. Right. What about meals? Are they typically included in those types of trips?
They usually are. So oftentimes the breakfast will be the hotel breakfast. So the breakfast is included. It's in the same establishment where you've slept. So it's really wonderful. It's very convenient. Lunches usually aren't, because you are out and about during that time.
Right.
So you are doing an excursion, you're with your tour guide, you're on the coach or the bus. So usually the lunch, it could be like a gas station, but if you're in Europe, gas stations are such an experience on their own. They're not the gas stations that we have, like say in Atlantic Canada, or anywhere in Canada. They have, you know, cafes and groceries and home, freshly baked goods. So even though you are maybe having lunch at a quick stop because you're on your way to your next destination, it's not that bad. Usually lunches aren't included. So that's the only thing. However, dinners, and again, this is something that you would look at when you're looking at, you know, the itinerary and the information, what's included. Most dinners are included. Some would be possibly an additional excursion that you could include. Okay. For example, if you're going to Tuscany and you want to do, you know, a pasta making class, well, that would be your dinner as well. So the experience and the dinner are combined. Okay. And in that, you know, specific evening, if you didn't do the excursion, you would be on your own for dinner. So it really does depend on what the tour itself you select. Yeah.
Right. So important to read the details.
Yes.
when you're booking, I guess. Mm-hmm. What about excursions themselves? I mean, the big plus of booking a group or a tour is that things are taken care of for you. So in terms of excursions, would you expect them to be paid, I guess?
This depends on the budget of, or maybe the price, I should say, of the tour that you're selecting. Okay. Higher the price, usually more excursions are included. Okay. Whereas if you go to a lower cost, where maybe the average day is between $100 and $125, and that includes your accommodations and your meals and your transportation, you could probably guess that those excursions are not included. Right. That's where kind of they get you. Not in a bad way, but if you plan on, you know, doing a little bit more of exploring on your own and are interested in doing all the excursions, you want to save money in that way, then yeah, look at a tour where there is a detailed itinerary, but the excursions are extra. So you just select what you want, versus other tours that are more expensive, but everything is included. So you you may feel obligated or trying to get the most of your money, the most of your experience, and you'll do all of them even though they don't interest you as much. Right. So it depends what tour you select. There's such a wide variety of tours available. It really does depend. And all these suppliers now, these tour operators, have very detailed itineraries on their website. And you'll be able to see, you know, on what certain day, what excursion is either possible or included. Okay. Yeah. So those are great. But usually, yeah, it just depends on, I guess, the cost of your tour, the days. For some, for example, when I did go to Rome for the Vatican, our ticket for entry was included in the price of our tour, so that was a great bonus. Right. And also the line to go into the VIP. So we did have like a guy, we were able to go in right away. We didn't have to, we skipped the line essentially. So that's something else to look at. The excursions that you have for popular tourist destinations, sometimes if they're not included, they're worth it just for the time that you save, being, you know, reaping the benefits of being in a group. In a group, the perks. Exactly. We talk about perks a lot in travel. So what about the bus itself? Like, I guess that might be my hesitation in a group, in a bus specifically, is being in an enclosed space for a significant amount of time, and my delicate bladder might not like it either. Then I would tell you, don't be afraid of the bus. Don't imagine yourself in a tight airplane in economy when you think about the bus. In Europe, they call them coaches, and they're very comfortable, even luxurious, I would say. These are Mercedes-Benz coaches that they use for most travel companies out there. One bus might have about between 30 and 42 seats. I think that is the average. I might be wrong with that, but it is quite a large bus for larger groups. However, there's great leg room. There's usually a footrest on the seat, you know, right in front of you, a table tray for you to put your iPad for times when the timing to get to your next destination is a bit longer. They recline very well as well. So, you know, I've often seen people take long naps when our journey to our next destination is a bit longer. But essentially, there's nice large windows with curtains if the sun is too bright, and you can close that off. So you really do have a great experience in what you can see outside. You're a lot higher as well, so you do get to see maybe a more panoramic view that you wouldn't be able to have if you were doing, you know, a driving tour on your own in a little vehicle in Europe. So a lot of great advantages. You're higher up. The seats are very comfortable. They're quite roomy. So if ever you are, sitting with someone that you don't know, that you've just met on the bus tour, you really don't feel uncomfortable. There is a lot of space. There are seat belts for people who want, but I think the regulations say that you don't necessarily need one. So there's a lot of options there. There's overhead bins as well if you have bags and you don't want that at your feet. So they are luxury coaches. They are very nice.
That's good to know. What about the social part of it? Like it really forces you. I guess you'd have to be quite a social person because you're essentially traveling with strangers unless you're bringing your family, right?
I would not suggest a bus tour to someone who might not appreciate a social interaction, meaning that if you are in a even small group where you have 16 to 24 versus a larger group where you could be 30 in their 40s, there is definitely a lot of interaction with other people. It might be difficult to kind of put yourself in a corner and not speak to anyone. So the advantage, I guess, of being in those situations is that if you are social, this is your place to shine. There's many people from different countries and they're all there for the same thing. They usually have that same type of personality when it comes to traveling. They're all there just like you to meet other people, have great conversations, develop friendships along the way as well. When you're on a bus tour for 8, 9, 10 days with the same people, there's friendships that develop. It's certain. You have breakfast together every day. Sometimes you have dinner together every day. So it's great for people who want to socialize. Also for someone who wants to socialize but wants to travel on their own, or doesn't have an option to travel with someone, I would suggest go on a bus tour. You won't be alone. You'll never be alone.
Right.
So that's a great option as well. But for someone who doesn't necessarily want to talk to people every day, kind of maybe a bit shy or introverted, maybe not the best option. Maybe build up to that for the future, but maybe not right off the bat.
So have you made friends on these bus tours that you're still in contact with?
I actually have. My mother and I did the Amalfi Coast with a bus tour. We did Capri, Naples, Pompeii, and we met these two lovely ladies from England who they were retired and all they did was chase the deals with the tour guides or the bus tours, and Minnie and Helen were their names, and we are still in contact. We wish each other Merry Christmas every year.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
That's a nice story. So we did talk a bit about, some of the possible disadvantage or cons of doing the bus tours. One of them being if you're a really extreme introvert, maybe. What are some of the other things you might say might not be a good fit for you on a bus tour?
The first bus tour we did as a family, it was called the European Sampler.
Okay.
So it was 7 countries in 14 days. It was busy. It was hectic. We did not unpack our suitcase for more than one night.
Oh, wow.
So one of the disadvantages I would say is when you're trying to get the most out of your trip, which, some people, that's fine. You might not unpack more than one night.
Okay.
So there is, multiple stops if you are trying to really get the most out of that experience, traveling and visiting the most countries or most cities at a time. There is the possibility that you may have to change hotels every evening, drive maybe longer distances during the day to get to your next destination. So I would say that is probably the biggest disadvantage when it comes to a more hectic schedule and itinerary, is that you may not have to have the chance to unpack that suitcase. However, if we can offer a suggestion, would be now with packing cubes and all these organization accessories that we have available now with our suitcases, it's as simple as just being very organized, practicing, a few nights before you leave for your trip, having a certain order in how you pack your packing cubes, t-shirts here, pants there, dresses there, get your outfit out for the night before. There's definitely ways to get around it, but just to know if people prefer the luxury of, unpacking for a few nights and then repacking afterwards, depends on the itinerary that you select for this one.
Okay. And you talked about being organized. One of the things that probably would get me is people who are having a hard time being on time. Mm-hmm. How is that dealt with on those tours?
On the European Sampler tour, the tour guide, I always remember him, his name was Howie, and he told us on day one, if you're late, you're not just late for yourselves and for the experiences that you're missing out on, but you're creating, a delay in the itinerary for the other 40 people on the bus, for ourselves. This may, you may be caught in traffic now. So it was very important to be respectful, to be on time, not, because you had to be respectful for the other people that paid a lot of money to be on this tour as well and are trying to have the best experience. So the consequence of being late, whether it be a minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, was that you had to sing. So there's many tour guides that have their own kind of punishment for people who are late. And let me tell you, the people who did have to sing because they were late after coming back from, a few hours that we were allowed to explore ourselves in town, to go shopping or to go eat, they did not come late again. So They sang their song in front of everyone, and then they were on time for the rest of the trip. But it happens. I don't think it happens a lot, though. I think people who are on the bus tours realize the importance of being on time because of the, either leisure itinerary that you have or the more strict one. You're not alone on this vacation. So a lot of people, I've honestly never had a bad experience. A lot of people are very respectful of that. And, we're all there for the same reasons, to have a good time. So, yeah. So that's maybe one disadvantage, is that not only that people are tardy, but also that there's also not that much time in certain areas, so in certain stops that we have. So people do feel maybe a little bit rushed. Depends again on the type, the style, the theme of tour that you're selecting. There's a wide variety again for any style that you wish to have. I would just suggest to do a little bit more research ahead of time. If you know you're going, for example, to Rome and you only have that afternoon in Rome, know exactly where you want to go. Know exactly what stores you want, know exactly what gelato store you want to try. Just be prepared. And of course, your travel agent can definitely help you with that. But that is maybe one disadvantage, is that it is a strict schedule. It's not your schedule, it's theirs. And you have to respect it as much as you can.
I think my husband and I, we've kind of determined that it is not a style of travel that we prefer. And I think it comes down to that. We don't like to be on somebody else's schedule, but our own schedule, and we're a little bit more adventurous. So we wouldn't want to see or go to some place that is not of interest to us. But I can definitely see, the attraction to a bus tour, depending on your travel style. Who would you say are the best types of travelers for a bus tour, I guess?
People who like early mornings. Maybe that does tie in a bit to another disadvantage, but a reality of bus tours that has to be considered before booking is, to get the most out of your day, you will be required at some times to wake up early. So that means, maybe a 6 a.m. wake up call, 7 a.m. wake up call that requires you to have breakfast and to have your luggage at the door. Another great service, though, of bus tours as well is you leave your luggage at the door, somebody comes and get it and puts it in the bus. However, when you're in a bus of 40, 50 people, that's a lot of luggage to put in the bus. So that's why early starts have to be quite, get ready and wake up quite early. So, what's the worst of going to bed a little early the night before, or having a nap during maybe a longer drive the next day? But that is definitely something to consider. So if you are an early riser, you are a great candidate for bus tours. If you like to meet people, you're a great candidate for bus tours. If you want to get the most out of your trip, you want no stress at all. You only want your tour guide basically to tell you, you eat at this time, you can go to the washroom at this time, this is when you go shopping, you can do that now. It's really hassle-free. And the benefit is that, you really disconnect. You don't have to make any decisions. The hardest decision of your day is, if you're in Italy, for example, it's what flavor of gelato will I eat today? It depends on what your travel style is, but there is also a wide variety that are available. So you can, filter when it comes to your preferred company or supplier. You can filter active. So, this one is a little bit more stop and go. So maybe shorter destinations, shorter stops, maybe hikes are involved, walks, bike tours. It's for the more active people. So there's those type of people that could definitely benefit from it. There's also more leisurely ones. So for example, there are tours that have a home base. So instead of changing hotels every night or every 2 nights, you have a home base for 7 or 8 nights, and you do day trips.
Right.
So it's, you wake up maybe a little later because you don't have to put that suitcase in the bus. So it doesn't have to be at the door at a certain time.
Right.
Maybe the tour that day starts at 10 a.m., 11, because you have a shorter distance to travel. That's another great benefit from that. And again, something that's available. You can do small groups as well for people who maybe like to socialize, but not with that many people at the same time. But ultimately, I think for someone who wants to experience Europe for the first time, doesn't know where to start, has a decent budget, wants to do maybe all the excursions or maybe just half of the excursions that are available, kind of have an idea of where they want to go, I think a bus tour is a great way to sample a country, a new area. And then afterwards, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Europe, Italy, France, they're always going to be there. So do your bus tour, kind of get a nice feel for the country, what you liked, what you didn't like. And next time you have more confidence going into the country, a foreign country, another European foreign country, to explore maybe on your own, or, get an excursion for a certain day and not the other, but, you pick the hotels. So I just think it gives you that confidence to travel again to that country or Europe where, now you know how to use the washroom, because it's different. Everywhere's is different. The grocery stores, how they operate, because again, they're different. How the gas stations, how the hotels operate, the currency a little bit more. So I think it's a great way to be introduced to a new country, in a foreign country overseas that you've never experienced before.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the things that would attract me to do it is actually I'm kind of a nervous traveler. Like I am, I would like to be in a group. It would give me a sense of security to some degree of being with others in a foreign country. So I can definitely, based on our conversation, definitely see the benefits of a group bus tour. Mm-hmm. So my husband and I are going to Europe for the entire month of May. Wow. Super excited about that. We're doing 2 weeks on land and 2 weeks on a cruise, all of it pretty much on our own. And you're also going to Europe in May as well. So where are you heading to?
Italy again.
Wow.
So I will be doing with my mother an 8-day gourmet Tuscany bus tour.
Wow.
Where this one we have a home base. So we have a home base. I believe it's called Montecatini, but don't correct my pronunciation. Where again we do day trips. So every day there is an excursion that is included in this style of travel that we picked this time, this supplier. And we have a few dinners, all our breakfasts are included. But yeah, it's a gourmet Tuscany tour where we'll get to visit the Chianti region, and we have a pasta making class. And I'm assuming we'll be eating a lot of delicacies from the area. So we're doing that. And then we've strategically decided to arrive a day earlier so we can visit Florence and to stay 2 days after the tour to explore Rome, because that is not a starting point where most Italian tours, it's either Venice or Rome that you start. Here we start directly at Montecatini. So that is coming up very, very soon.
Oh, how exciting.
Yes.
How exciting. Well, I think that wraps it up almost for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you think you'd love to do a bus tour in Europe or anywhere else for that matter, please reach out to your Viva agent to discuss options. This is definitely, if you've determined today that it's not the type of travel for you, there are so many options to visit Europe, such as independent a la carte travel, cruising, or a mix of different ones. So I guess that's it for today. Until next time, everyone, Viva Vacation!